Welcome back to my channel. Okay, let's get into this one right here. He not like us. They ain't like us. Let's talk about this fake beef. Kendrick Lamar and Drake. I mean, are you serious? Come on now. This has to be one of the weakest beefs of all times, folks. One of the weakest beefs of all time. To sell records, to get something going. The music industry has been the weakest music industry, I would say, going into the 2010s. And that coincides with the whole Drake era, as we know, right? And before we get into the Kendrick Lamar song, let's get into Drake. Because we know Kendrick Lamar, he was raised in the hood. His father was a drug dealer. I think with was it the Crips or the Gangster Disciple? I don't know. I don't want to say the wrong one. One of them. So, he was raised in Chicago, and then he was raised in Compton. So, it ain't nothing fake about him growing up in the hood. In '87, he was born in the hood. So, this is what I'm saying. We all remember 2000s hip hop when Drake emerged via what we say, Young Money. I don't even think it was Young Money at the time, right? Was it Cash? I don't know if it was Cash Money Records. They just brought him on. Lil Wayne, Baby, whatever. They brought him on, and he did a couple of verses with them on the track or whatever like that. No beef. Ain't nothing wrong with that. And the next thing he started rap singing. That was something that was kind of frowned upon back then, right? Because even, Ja Rule got the business for doing that same thing. But, Ja Rule was more like harmonizing. He really wasn't singing. We heard dudes harmonize before, but not really singing like that. So Drake, what he started doing, he was rapping and then singing. Everybody was like, okay. And then his album dropped. And then he wasn't only rap singing on his album, he was singing entire songs. No, bro. Dude talking about how tough he is in singing entire songs. And to me, he can't even sing. He was on something what I'm saying? We wasn't listening to Luther Vandross or, Bobby Brown or Usher or even Chris Brown or, Mario, or you want me to keep going? He wasn't on that level, folks. He was on the level of some Mickey Mouse Club-ish, right? Some Nickelodeon stuff. And let's not forget, he did come from Degrassi High. So basically he was nothing but what the Britney Spears was. He was nothing but what the Justin Timberlakes was and the Christina Aguilera's was, that came from that came from Mickey Mouse Studios, that came from Nickelodeon Studios, something like that. So basically he had zero street cred of growing up tough, growing up on hard times, and growing up in the hood. And he's not even American. So he ain't even of the American culture starting from back then. Because he's from Canada. He's from Canada. So I'm not trying to say you got to be a gangster. I ain't trying to say you got to be tough to rap, but I'm just saying that was his background, folks. So to me, we already talked about this before. The 2000s, from 2000 all the way to 2009, was the grand finale of music, if you look at it. Whether it was hip-hop, R&B, country music, pop music, techno, house, all that music was grand finale. What happened? What happened in that era right there, the 2000s? The 2010s couldn't match that, folks. They didn't have that type of talent, because you got to remember, not only did you have original artists that came in the 2000s, like your Eminems, your Nellies, your DMXs, a lot of these guys that you could just name. Did I say Eminem? On the what do you call it? The pop music too. Country music, all kind of different, just whatever you want to name, house, whatever you want to name. You have a lot of original people just pop up in the early 2000s. Rihanna came up in there. Katy Perry came up. The list just goes on and on, folks. But also, you had the people that came from the 90s into the 2000s. Those great artists. So basically, Those guys that popped up in the 2000s, they listened to the people in the 90s. So they was just carrying on the greatness from those people from the 90s. And like I said, a lot of 90s artists came into the 2000s. You heard it. Busta Rhymes came in there. Missy Elliott came up in there. Bad Boy came in there. Jay-Z, Nas, all these people. Even, a little bit of country, a little bit of soft rock, a little bit, whatever like this. What I'm saying is, by the time we got to the 2010s, what did you have, folks? This was your new R&B, rap, and soul music, right? In the 2010s. Adele? Adele was your new soul singer? Nothing against her, folks. And what I'm trying to tell you, in the long run, when we had the 90s, the 80s, the 2000s, whatever, the 60s, you always had a lot of different artists, right? So say like in the 90s, even though you had Whitney Houston, damn, what did you have? You had Mariah Carey, so they was going back and forth. Even though you had Whitney Houston in the 80s, you had different soul singers, R&B singers, and stuff like that. Once you got in the 2010s, that thing was dry, folks. There was really no great talent going against great talent. And that's why Drake was able basically to stand on his own out there and do his thing. Really. Don't tell me about no Future or nothing like that. No, Drake was running the hip hop. There was nobody out there to challenge him. And that's how weak it was. You had Bruno Mars. Bruno Mars was your new R&B singer. Really? So are these people even really black? I think Bruno Mars is from Hawaii or something like that. So you got Drake from Canada, Bruno Mars from Hawaii, Adele, Drake from Canada, Bruno Mars from Hawaii, and Adele from the UK? Really? And look, I don't have nothing against Bruno Mars, but come on, man. Where was the variety of music out there in the 2010s like we had in the 2000s? And before that, the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, and I'm just saying, this is why Drake was able to do what he did. He was able to do what he did because let me show you what happened. He came out the late 2000s, right? And he already planted the seed, right? He already laid the foundation of what was going to happen in the 2010s from him doing what he did in the 2000s, which was what? Rap, singing. So if you did something like that in the early 2000s, the 90s, guess what? You wouldn't even get put out there. They would call you girly. They would say you wasn't tough. They would just destroy you. And look how weak this whatever you want to call it between him and Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar ain't doing nothing but really doing what Drake laid the format for. Drake laid the groundwork for, which is rap singing. Right? He can't even make his own music without rap singing. This isn't, Ice Cube going after Eazy-E and Dr. Dre. This ain't Snoop going after Eazy-E. This ain't Tupac and Biggie beef. This ain't one of the best beefs of all time. Go back and listen to some of that music and these guys going at it. Back in the Jay-Z and Nas. Really? Listen to the music. Not just the lyrics. The lyrics is off the chain. Listen to the sound, to the beats. It ain't what are we talking about? How can you really vibe to this stuff? I don't understand. We went and put R&B sound to these beats where dudes could straight vibe to it. This stuff, man, this sound like some Hollywood type of I don't even know what you want to call it, man. Hollywood type of beef. You know, really, these guys are really spitting. Really? You could sit at home and make something. I'm just saying, for the Kendrick Lamar fans, you could sit at home. Well, maybe you really couldn't. I mean, this rap has gone down the drain as far as lyrically. These dudes' lyrics are like cat, hat, blue, fool. There's nothing to it. These dudes really ain't lyrically rapping. Ain't nothing complicated. They rapping on some Sesame Street-ish. I don't even Kendrick Lamar, folks. I'm sorry, folks. Y'all might like this guy, but this ain't no real beef where we listen to real rappers going at it. You know what I'm saying? Cannabis, LL Cool J. Are we serious? This is what you get right here. I'm just trying to tell you, man. If Drake laid the foundation for the 210s, how hip hop and rap was going to be, how it was going to sound. So this is what you got in the 2020s. That's what we were trying to talk about, how LeBron James laid the foundation in the 210s for the super teams, in no defense being played and not being competitive. So if he laid the groundwork in the 210s for that, what are they going to stand on in the 2020s? You see how bad this NBA is, right, folks? So you got to be kidding me, man. This wouldn't even be top 100 beefs in hip hop. Come on, folks. You can't have great lyrics if you don't have great beats. If you don't have great beats, you can't have great lyrics. What are we talking? This beef puts me to sleep, man. I'm like, when we listen, not like us. This is all you got to say, bro, in the song? I thought it was real weak. Like I said, you could come up with some tougher beef some tougher lyrics than this. When you go back and listen to Nas and Jay-Z beef, you go back and listen to Tupac was going at everybody. Everybody. Go back and listen to some Ice Cube when he was going at people. Kumo D and what's this guy's name? Who was it? Kumo D and Big Daddy Kane going at it. Man, we can go back to the inception of hip hop, and it's tougher than this, man. So, anyways, so Drake came in at 210s, basically doing the same thing that he ended the end of the 2000s doing, right? 2008, 2009, rap singing. Talking about he gonna find somebody's heart and basically sing rapping every damn song if he wasn't singing an entire song. They knew he was from Canada. They knew he was from Degrassi High. They knew he grew up middle class with a silver spoon in his mouth. They knew he wasn't of the American culture. They knew he wasn't from any bad times or any hood. I didn't like this dude from the get-go when he started rap singing. Okay, I was like, well, this is cute. This is like on some Justin Timberlake stuff and, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera. That's fine. But that's the label over there. That's the class over there. But they try to really put this dude with niggas from the streets that grew up tough, grew up rough. And all of a sudden, he rose to the top in 210 as the #1 rap artist and selling units based off of sing rapping. And the fact is that everybody was in the game. Guess what they had to start doing now? Yep, all your little tough, hard rappers now, they had to start rapping. And guess what they also had to start doing? They had to start taking the melody out. What's this called? And the harmony out the music. It just disappeared. So now we can start hearing these dudes sing rap. And they basically all start sounding like little kids, right? They all start sounding like they ain't even hit puberty yet. So these dudes start freaking out. What are we gonna do? We can't make no money unless we do what? We start rapping like Drake. And that's what they start doing. The whole 210s, and it's never stopped, folks. This is Drake music. I don't care what nobody else say. Nobody was rapping before Drake like that. Nobody was singing entire songs like Drake. Go listen to all 2000s hip hop, and it don't sound like Drake. Go listen to 90s hip hop, it don't sound like Drake. Even if Drake was doing this, folks, because this is how self was back then. It was real diverse, right? So if a dude has a certain style, you couldn't bite his style and be like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna sound like him. I'm gonna sound like him. I'm gonna do what he do. They won't put you out. You would get clowned if you sound like Biggie. You get clowned if you sound like Kumo D. You get clowned if you sound like LL Cool J. You get clowned if you sound like Cannabis. You get clowned if you sound like Tupac. Everybody had their own versatile style. You couldn't sound like nobody else. It wouldn't even put you out. It'd be a waste of their money. Because nobody would listen to it. They'd be like, So what I'm trying to say is, okay, if Drake want to be a little fruitcake and start singing like he did, okay, whatever. He would he would eventually get exposed. It wouldn't take them this long after this guy made hundreds of millions to try to expose this guy. Really? Again, if this was his style, dudes would just move on, and they wouldn't even be trying to rap sing like him. They'd be trying to do their own style. That's how it always was, folks. If you try to bite somebody's style back in the day, you would be getting called out like immediately. That's just how it was. So anyways, they let this dude run amok in the entire 2000s, sing rapping, making entire songs singing. On interviews, I mean, just this dude is on fire. He flaming out in all these interviews, acting like this, and he basically running the entire 210s, openly flaming out. And nobody ain't got nothing to say about it? Nobody ain't got nothing to say about it. Okay. So we got all you tough rappers rapping every damn song. This this was your leader. That's why I couldn't listen to these dudes no more into the 210s, because they was doing the same thing Drake was doing. But the thing was, they was trying to act hard while they was trying to do it. See, Drake was trying to act tough while he was doing it, but these dudes who were American, from the hood, from the streets, they was trying to act hard while they were singing, and they still do, folks. See, Kendrick Lamar, he don't mean nothing to me, because Drake laid the groundwork and the foundation for these dudes to sing rap from the 210s all the way until now. So Kendrick Lamar, you ain't got nothing on Drake. Drake is responsible for changing hip hop, not you, Kendrick Lamar. We can pull up your songs where you're rapping something that really didn't even happen until the 210s because of Drake. So you need to bow down to Drake because you biting his style. Where's the great melody? Where's the great harmony in your music, Kendrick Lamar? I don't hear it. Because I can take you back to the 2000s, the 90s, the 80s, where dudes was really battling and they had great harmony. They had great harmony in the music. So I don't know, man. I just, this beef right, I'm like, really? I just find it laughable, man. This is like, your normal Drake stuff, your Mickey Mouse, Nickelodeon beef. This is what you got, man. This is what these guys really think beef is, really. When you listen to the music, it comes down to that. Well, dudes ain't even using their real voice. Imagine going back and listen to the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, where dudes ain't even using their own voice. Wow. Ain't even using their own voice to even rap. That's how bad it is. Dudes in the NBA ain't even using real skill to get paid, right? traveling and carrying and, just sitting around the 3-point line. Ain't even using no real skill to play basketball. This is what you got in the 2020, man. They might as well put, Nickelodeon / Mickey Mouse, Disney, Nickelodeon / Disney beef. This is basically what you got, folks. A fake beef. Because if I'm looking at Kendrick Lamar, I'm like, you're not like us. That's it? That's it? Dude. Oh boy. We heard some of these infamous battles back in the day, boy. Could you imagine Cannabis? Could you imagine Tupac or Biggie or, the LL Cool J's and the Kumo D's and the Snoops and the Trays? And man, these were classic battle raps, man. Kumo D and I keep forgetting this guy's name. But these were off the chain, man. These dudes are basically singing to you, serenading you. Like, this ain't no battle rap, man. This ain't where it's at, man. This is, Kendrick Lamar. You can't battle somebody where he laid the groundwork for you to, serenade him, to sing to him. This man ran hip hop basically for a whole decade and a half. I'm not sure. You can't diss a dude who basically changed hip hop, who changed the style of hip hop to girly. And you in that girly, you in that girly era. Dude still singing. Dude still sing rapping. I don't know what to say. I don't know what I didn't cover, but it's one of the fakest beefs, one of the most boring beefs. One of, like, really, this is all y'all got lyrically? Huh? This is what y'all got for like a mixtape? What dudes went on a mixtape and went at it? I don't know, man. These dudes are so soft in this era, man. I just, and you can thank Drake for this. You can thank Drake for this. So that's all I'm gonna say, man. I just, like I said, Kendrick Lamar, I guess he's a all-time rapper in this era. I don't know, the Drake era rapper, but no, folks. That's why when I seen him doing the Super Bowl, I was just like, it don't move me. It don't move me. When Dr. Dre did it with Snoop and that was Eminem on there, these type of guys, they just don't move me, man. Kendrick Lamar, I guess. What's he gonna do? Come out there, start singing, rapping, and to some weird ass beats? What's it called? iTunes or whatever it's called. The fake voice, the robotic voice. I guess for the young people, I won't put him like top. He ain't gonna be top, whatever, in Super Bowl performances. Just ain't, man. I mean, whatever y'all want to hear. I stopped listening to hip hop in the 2010s. Basically, when Drake took over, that's when I stopped listening to it. So I'm not gonna listen to dudes sing rap, and you take the harmony out. For what? It's not black music. It's some dead music. It's like some, they had to basically turn hip hop around and march it out the other way for Drake to take over the 210s. That's what they basically had to do. And then they had to bring in some kiddies singing, sing rap dudes behind them to make it official. They didn't keep the talent didn't keep getting better like the 210s. I mean the 2000s. They had to bring in people just like him that sing rap, and like Future and all these dudes with basically no talent. And like I said, they took out the harmony out of music, all this stuff, so Drake could coexist with no competition in the 210s. Same with Bruno Mars. Who was his competition while he was taking over the 210s? Who was Adele's competition while she was taking over soul music? Who was her competition? Tell me. So you had three people take over American music with no competition. Well, three people who aren't American take over American music with no competition. And then you could sprinkle in some Chris Brown in there, I guess. Chris Brown don't move me. He ain't no Usher. He don't make hits. Chris Brown just make a whole bunch of songs. Right? It reminds me of like he's the LeBron James of like longevity, but he don't make hits like Usher. He's not a Michael Jordan like a Usher will be of the 2000s. Usher made hits for grown folks. He made sexy songs, dance songs, stuff like that. Chris Brown makes, I don't know, he makes just a whole bunch of songs, I guess. He don't make, well, let's just say he don't make classic hits like Usher. He don't. Never been on no Usher level. So all Chris Brown can do is have that little girly voice and high-pitched voice and do a whole bunch of dancing. That's it. Man, Chris Brown's still doing it, man. He's sound like LeBron James. Chris Brown's still doing it. Where are the classic hits like Usher? Usher was giving it to Chris Brown in the 2000s. It wasn't even close, bro. So, yeah, that's how Chris Brown was able to do what he did in the 2000s. There wasn't really no competition in R&B in the 2000s. Who was your competition? Bruno Mars, and Bruno Mars was basically outselling you, Chris Brown, in the 210s. What's this guy's name? I forget his name. He made better songs than Chris Brown. Neo. If you listen to Neo's first three albums, or basically first two albums, he made better songs, sexy, all this stuff, more adult songs than Chris Brown. Really? So this is what you got. This is this era, folks, the 2020s, and they didn't have nothing. It was just like the sports we was talking about. They didn't have nothing to stand on once we got in the 2020s, because the 210s, they just brought you a whole bunch of nonsense. The 210s was a whole bunch of nonsense, man. Whether it was music, movies, sitcoms, a lot of stuff, sports. It was a whole bunch of nonsense. It wasn't like the 2000s. It wasn't like the 90s. It wasn't like the 80s. Nothing. The 210s started to go backwards. And the 2020s was like, okay. It just continued the backward trajectory. That's it. The 2020s ain't better than the 210s. It just kept going backwards because the 210s wasn't good. The 210s, they were looking at it when they went into the 210s in pop culture. They was like, what the hell just happened? How are we going to top the 2000s, what they just did? That was incredible. Music, movies, sitcoms, comedians, sports, all that stuff. They was just dumbfounded. They didn't know what to do. Because guess what? A lot of them 2000s, people wasn't going into the 210s. Like a lot of 90s people was going into the what do you call it, the 2000s. A lot of 80s people went into the 90s. A lot of 70s went into the 80s. A lot of 60s went into the 70s. And what I'm trying to say is, when you start a whole different era, going into a whole different decade, you will start, say like the end of an era, right? You start, say like the end of the 80s, you start to hear what the beginning of the 90s sound is going to sound like, right? So you have a lot of people, a lot, going into like the 90s, right, from the 80s, because at the end of the 80s you start to hear what the beginning of the 90s sound was going to be, right, as far as music and stuff like that. So a lot of those 80s people at the end went into the 90s, but by the time you got like maybe like 92, 93, you start to see new faces of what the middle of the 90s is going to sound like. Right, so in the middle of the 90s, now you got its own vibe, its own sound, everything, its own originality. But when you start to get into the end of the 90s, you start to hear what the beginning of the 2000s is going to sound like, right? So you had Eminem come in 98, you had Beyonce and them come at the end of the 90s, and so on and so on. Those type of characters. I think DMX, he came in 99, and that's what the 2000s was going to sound like, just the beginning. So what I'm trying to say is, if you get what I'm saying, how pop culture always was, when we went into the 210s, it wasn't that you didn't have people from the end of the 2000s coming into the 210s. It was just so little of it. So little of the people coming out of the 2000s coming into the 210s. You just did, folks. It was, by the time you got into the you basically could hear. And like I said, what the 210s was going to sound like. A lot of dudes start singing, rapping. The music the melody start getting bad. They took out the harmony. This was like something that you really never heard in music ever, where they stripped the harmony out of the music. You never heard that. And they did. And it's been like that ever since. It's like no deep harmony or melody in the music. Basically no instruments. And you don't even have to have like real instruments to even have like deep harmony and stuff like that in the music, but you can see it going into the 210s. There wasn't really no new great actors, no good sitcoms, no good movies that we would say, okay, look at the 210s and 90s in comparison. This is what you got, man. You got a Disney Nickelodeon beef right here. This ain't real, folks. Good luck. And they only had this beef because what you call hip hop, I won't even call it hip hop no more. Called rap music. That's it. It's rap music. It's not hip hop. Hip hop was over in the 2000s. It was over. When dudes is coming from Canada and the Rossi High and Nickelodeon, that's not hip hop no more. Hip hop was a culture. That was American culture, not Canadian culture. I'm not gonna go to somebody else's country and I'm gonna say, yeah, I'm part of their culture. They're gonna laugh. They're gonna laugh. Haitian ain't gonna say, yeah. They ain't gonna go to Jamaica and say, yeah, I'm Jamaican. Look at my skin. Man, them Jamaicans gonna laugh that Haitian right up out that country. They gonna laugh because it's about culture, folks. It's about culture. That's all there is to it. It's no hate. It's just about culture. People, they want American people to really forget about culture. I know this is a mix of people, but still, there's some foundational people here of culture, and they don't want those people to have any of that culture. They want other people to come in and say, no, they're part of your culture. But you can't go over there and be part of their culture. That's the thing about it. Or you can't tell them, well, I'm part of the Canadian culture. They won't allow it. But for some reason, you're supposed to allow everybody else to be a part of your culture. That doesn't make any sense to me, folks. So that's all I'm gonna say. Kendrick Lamar, he performing tomorrow. I'm not trying to say that's an all-time low at the Super Bowl. That's fine with me, but I'm just saying this whole fake beef between him and Drake. I'm going with Drake. I'm like, bro, I changed the whole landscape of hip hop. Can't too many people can say that, because before everybody had to have their own style in hip hop. The only thing that changed really in hip hop to me over the years before 210s was maybe the music, because in the 90s they start put R&B sound into hip hop, but before that ain't nothing really changed. Maybe the way they dressed, maybe on a level they got more skillful, but I don't think anybody was, pointed at directly for changing hip hop. It was just styles of decades, you know what I'm saying? The evolution. But Drake literally is responsible for changing hip hop from the 210s all the way until now. So I don't see how Kendrick Lamar could even can even get with that. You need to be bowing down to Drake's feet, because I hear you sing rapping just like the rest of them. Ain't nobody changed hip hop like Drake. Ain't nobody been on top that long like I saw Drake was for a whole damn decade. And he ain't even from the United States, ain't even from the hood, ain't even from Bad Times, and is from Nickelodeon to Rossi High. Are you delusional, Kendrick Lamar? So y'all could try to be on Kendrick Lamar's side if you want. That's fine. Now you just want to call out Drake. He done made all the money. He done got all the fame. He done changed hip hop, and it took you this long to call out Drake? Dude, I was calling this ish out in 2009. Where was the rappers to call this out? Where was 50 Cent to call this out? Where was, because he's trying to troll him now, where was Eminem to call this out when he was making songs with Eminem? Where was T.I. to call this out when he was making songs with T.I.? Where was all the Lil Wayne that brought him out? Where was all the rappers to call this out in the late 2000s? Where they at? Okay, what about 210s? You had the entire 210s to call this dude out and ruin his career. But you couldn't. You waited too late, because by the time he got on top, guess what? They seen them record sales coming from Canada too. So he had the record sales coming from Canada, and he was a pop singer, right? So he wasn't even getting real to buy his album. He wasn't just getting people from Canada. In the United States, he was getting people that listen to pop music in general. Not rap music, pop music that now they call rap music. Right? Again, your Britney Spears, your Justin Timberlakes, this type of music. They basically turned rap music into pop music. Drake did. Before, if you was a rapper, you could go pop. You sold so many units, you were so big, your music went pop. Like a Snoop Dogg, like a Tupac, a Jay-Z. It was so big it went pop. A Eminem, maybe a Nelly. But you was still a rapper. You just went pop. That's how big, your ish was. No, Drake went pop. He was pop. He was no longer a rapper that went pop. He was basically pop. He didn't sell music based on rap. He sold music based on pop music. So to me, Kendrick Lamar can say whatever he said. I listen to his music. It don't move me. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, it don't move me. Not only do y'all taking this long to call this out, but the lyrics are real weak. They're like, some Cat in the Hat verses. This is all you got? I done heard Drake hit harder than this. Why he singing? But the punchline is, he not like us. What do that mean? He ain't been like us since he first came out. It took these dudes this long to... I'll tell you, boy, this era, this would have been getting called out from the get-go. Back in the early 2000s, the 90s, the 80s, we've been getting called out from the get-go. So Drake is the winner. He done made all this money. But the main thing is, he changed hip-hop. He changed hip-hop. Or rap, whatever you want to call it. He didn't change hip-hop. He changed rap music to what it is today. Some dudes sing rapping with no harmony in the music. But the thing was, these dudes took it to a different extreme. Drake was sing rapping, but these dudes start sing rapping. They try to make it seem like, oh no, we ain't doing it after Drake. So what they did was they start sing rapping, mumbling. Oh, now you sound more like an idiot. Because they got to sound tough. Like they from the streets, they from the block, and they selling dope and all this stuff, right? So we just can't exactly sing like Drake, who gave us this, and we don't do like what Drake does. We ain't gonna sell no units, so we'll try like disguise it. We'll sing rap in mumble mouth, so we'll sound tough while we sing rapping. Oh boy. So who was the rapper? And I'm gonna get off of here. And in comparison, right? This is basically how 50 Cent became 50 Cent as far as him rising to the top of the scene. Ja Rule was out there, just took over. Ja Rule took over from what, like 99 to, I want to say 2001, maybe 2002 or something like that. Ja Rule that took over. And you had Sprinkle DMX in there, whatever like that. Eminem was doing his thing, but Ja Rule took over. At least he had, Ashanti in there singing the hook and whatever like that. So 50 Cent came in and said, this ain't gangster. This ain't how dudes on the street supposed to be operating. We ain't even supposed to hear you harmonizing like that, Ja Rule. You soft, you weak. You ain't really from the streets, even though he was. But, I'm about to knock him off the top of the mantle. So what did 50 Cent come out there? We know what he did. Expose him as soft, weak, singing duets with Ashanti or whatever like that. That's how he rose to the top. Really gave it to Ja Rule. Because he felt like, this ain't what hip hop should be or whatever. So who was the dude to do this to Drake in the 2010s? To call him out for singing rapping, for sounding soft. You ain't from the United States, you ain't from the hood, you ain't this and that. You ain't gonna change hip hop to do singing. Who was it? Okay, so again, Kendrick Lamar, you lose. It's too late. He made all this money. He changed hip hop. It's over. And dudes, until they can start bringing hip hop back to what it was, putting harmony back in the music, being able to vibe to it. Your rapper's not singing, but instead you have you doing duets and you have girls singing or women singing and the rappers just rapping. That was big in the 2000s, right? The rappers didn't sing; they had the women, great women singing the hook or whatever like that. Then they say, "Oh no, we're gonna cut out the females from singing." Now the rappers are gonna sing too and rap. The funny part is they can't do neither. They're not good at either. It's the worst singing you ever heard. It's just wow. Why would you even open your mouth to sing in the first place, sounding like that? Second of all, it's some of the basic Google rap you ever heard, folks. They don't put hip hop, as far as lyrically, they don't put that back so far. It's ridiculous.